Hello brothers and welcome to Sigma Old Man channel. Some men arrive to shake your hand. Sigma males arrive to shake your soul. There's a reason people feel off balance after meeting a Sigma male. It's not intimidation, it's not charm. It's the unsettling realization that they're standing in front of someone who sees through the nonsense, cuts past the masks, and operates like a walking judgment day, but without the sermon. Here's a fact most people ignore. Karma doesn't always come dressed in lightning bolts or cosmic justice. Sometimes it wears boots, avoids small talk, and minds its business until you mess with it. That's the Sigma male. He doesn't scream, "You'll regret this." He just disappears, and then somehow you do. People start stumbling, truths unravel, patterns repeat. And those who wronged him, they learn the hard way that silence isn't weakness. It's the warning. This isn't about revenge. It's about the divine elegance of a man who lets the universe respond while he upgrades in the shadows. And if you've ever crossed paths with a Sigma and felt like life started humbling you real quick afterward, well, congrats. You've met one of Karma's finest employees. Stay locked in, because what you're about to see isn't fiction. These are the 12 eerie, extraordinary signs that Sigma males are not just lone wolves. They're the universe's secret response team, and spoiler alert, they don't knock twice. Number 1, they don't need closure, they are the closure. Closure is overrated, at least to a Sigma. While most people beg for one last convo, he's already deleting the chat log and upgrading his playlist. He doesn't need the emotional receipt because he wasn't shopping for validation in the first place. The moment he senses your words have turned into excuses, your loyalty into a negotiation, he flips the internal switch marked irrelevant, and the story ends right there. No fireworks, no last-minute monologue, just a sudden echoing stillness that rattles every hallway of your mind. The brilliance and cruelty of a Sigma exit is that it happens in stages you only notice when they're over. First, the stretched-out replies, then the polite but hollow smiles, finally the digital tumbleweeds rolling through every channel you once dominated. You refresh, you reread, you relive. Nothing. The silence stretches so wide you could drive a convoy of apologies through it, but nobody's around to hear them. That absence becomes your mirror. Every insecurity, every half-truth you hoped wouldn't matter now shouts back at you in surround sound. Congratulations, you've reached the credits. The lead actor left halfway through the scene. Here's where Karma strolls in wearing loafers. The Sigma's refusal to give you closure forces you to write it yourself. You replay every moment, trying to pinpoint when you lost him, and each rerun peels another layer off whatever facade you were selling. In trying to understand him, you finally understand yourself, and it stings worse than any savage send-off could. His silence feels personal because it hands all the power to the universe and all the reflection to you. Think of it as the cleanest break known to humanity. No drama, no messy plot twists, just an invisible stamp that reads, "Case closed." He won't text back, won't meet for coffee, won't attend your guilt trip gala. His vacancy is the verdict, his forward motion the final sentence. And by the time you grasp what happened, he's already 3 milestones ahead, proof that ultimate closure is watching someone else thrive without needing your permission in glorious silence. Number 2, they give you rope, not warnings. Sigma. Males don't argue. They gift wrap you all the rope you could ever want and then stroll out of frame. No loud exit, no warning label, just that calm nod that says, proceed. If your instincts are clean, nothing happens. But if you've been scheming, the rope feels like a victory ribbon right up until it cinches. The genius is that the Sigma never pulls the knot. He lets gravity and your own weight do the ugly work. While you brag in group chats, he's already unsynced your contact and tuned his playlist to better without you. At first, you mistake his silence for surrender. You take bigger bites, bend more rules, maybe screenshot a few private moments for later leverage. The room stays quiet, so you keep sprinting toward whatever shortcut you believe will crown you king. Except shortcuts turn into cliffs when nobody's at the wheel and the Sigma already stepped off the ride. By the time you glance over your shoulder for applause, the audience is gone and the ground under your swagger starts cracking like week old ice. That's when the rope reveals itself. Friends stop returning calls because they're tired of your blow-by-blow ego parade. Opportunities freeze because people finally read the fine print you kept hiding behind charisma. Even mirrors become hostile. They replay every moment you trampled the subtle boundaries the Sigma drew with his silence. Your own habits, once cleverly disguised, now announce themselves like karaoke singers who missed rehearsal. And the Sigma? He's nowhere near the fallout. He's busy leveling up. New city, new goals, same unbreakable chill. The lesson hits hard. He never punished you. He just declined to save you from yourself. Nothing bruises self-appointed masterminds faster than realizing their big win was self-inflicted defeat. Next time you meet silence, read it like a fire exit sign. The quiet is telling you to leave before the building you're torching collapses on you. Because the Sigma's greatest act of karma isn't what he does. It's what he refuses to prevent, and that restraint is silently, methodically lethal. Number 3, they attract chaos, then convert it to consequence. Chaos thinks it recruits Sigma males as accomplices. Instead, it accidentally hires its own assassin. Walk a Sigma into any tangled workplace, friend circle, or family reunion, and watch the room's temperature shift. It starts subtle, a sideways glance, a pause before a lie, an unscheduled flurry of just checking in texts, as if the collective nervous system senses an incoming software update. The Sigma isn't stirring the pot. His presence upgrades the lighting so you finally see the mold swimming at the bottom. The magic trick is that he never breaks a sweat. While everyone else micromanages optics, the Sigma just observes, quiet, curious, clinically detached. People underestimate how lethal pure observation can be. Secrets thrive in darkness. Deprive them of that, and they shrivel faster than cheap lettuce in desert heat. The office gossip who padded her resume suddenly fumbles her talking points. The charismatic friend who thrives on triangulation slips up and forgets which version of the story he fed to which audience. Like a reverse magician, the Sigma reveals the wires, mirrors, and trapdoors until the illusions collapse under their own cheap glue. Here's why it feels like divine punishment. The Sigma never raises his voice or files a public accusation. He simply asks one too many perfectly timed questions, declines one shady invitation, and refuses to laugh at jokes that punch down. Those microscopic choices create an ecosystem where only authenticity can breathe. Every fake inside that bubble starts gasping for air. Within weeks, the group's hierarchy flips. The loud schemers lose influence while the quiet backbone types rise. And since the Sigma never claims credit, no one can accuse him of sabotage. It's just reality finally catching up. For the offenders, it's terrifying. They can't scapegoat him. There's no paper trail. All they know is that life got uncomfortable after he showed up. Projects once built on shortcuts stall. Cliques implode under the weight of their own side conversations. You'd think the Sigma orchestrated it all, but he's as surprised as anyone. He simply refuses to enable the nonsense. His calm is the litmus test, the cosmic reset button that turns hidden chaos into public consequence. After the dust settles, he leaves quietly like a janitor after a night shift. Rooms spotless, lights brighter, skeletons neatly piled at the door for their owners to claim. Number 4, they magnetize the wicked, then dismantle them. A Sigma male is an emotional Tesla coil. He hums with self-powered confidence, shoots off no sparks, yet still draws every ego-inflated moth in the county. Narcissists, manipulators, and wannabe overlords catch the glow and drift closer, convinced they've discovered a brand new mirror to admire themselves in. Step 1 of their downfall is simple physics. Nothing sticks to a surface coated in indifference. The Sigma gives them no gas, no applause, no convenient target. He's the one friend at karaoke who refuses to clap for off-key bravado. The silence unsettles, so they sing louder, wobble harder, and reveal every phony note. The wicked misread his calm as vacancy. They push to see where the walls are, but he offers only open space. That emptiness becomes the funhouse that bends their own reflections. A narcissist craves reverence. The Sigma answers with a deadpan, HM. A manipulator waits for buttons to press. He keeps his emotions on airplane mode. An egotist expects a duel. He counters with a shrug that feels like being ignored by gravity. Deprived of the feedback loop that props up their grand illusions, they scramble to build taller scaffolding, louder boasts, riskier lies, bigger power plays. Each layer creaks. Soon the contradictions pile up. Stories don't match. Fake victories rot in daylight. Allies desert because a Sigma's presence quietly rewrites the terms of engagement, authenticity or exit. Under that silent ultimatum, the wicked turn on one another, itching for the validation they can't bleed from him. Their elaborate castles collapse like wet cardboard, and the Sigma never flicks a single stone. He just watches, stainless, the way a mountain watches weather shred a circus tent. By the time chaos peaks, he's already halfway out the door, collecting nothing but his quiet. The villains are left arguing over whose fault the avalanche was, nursing bruised egos and unanswered texts. They'll replay the encounter, swear he orchestrated it, miss the point entirely. He didn't dismantle them, he simply refused to inflate them. In a universe that punishes pretenders with their own reflection, that refusal is the sharpest blade. The Sigma walks away lighter. The wicked learn gravity the hard way, and karma ticks another task off its to-do list. Number 5, they speak the truth. People don't want to hear. A Sigma's honesty is the conversational equivalent of pulling a fire alarm. Loud, jolting, impossible to ignore, and absolutely necessary if the building's smoldering. He won't wrap his words in cotton candy or warm them up in the microwave of politeness. He just drops the raw data. Your startup isn't a business, it's an expensive hobby. That relationship you're clinging to, you love the history, not the person. Boom. At first it feels like verbal whiplash. Your ego scrambles to shut the blinds. But his sentence has already flicked every light switch in the house. You tell yourself he's too blunt. Translation, he just pointed out the leak you've been wallpapering for years. What stings is the accuracy. Sigmas don't rant, they audit. Their brains are part lie detector, part MRI. They spot the hairline cracks in your story, then name them out loud like a referee calling fouls. And because they're not baited by drama, they don't over-explain. A single statement, surgical and clean, lands harder than a 12-tweet thread. You try to brush it off, but the words replay in the shower over coffee while you fake laugh at memes. It's the echo chamber rearranged. You can't unhear a truth that fits, so it keeps knocking until you open the door. Here's the cosmic joke. You secretly wanted someone to say it. Denial is exhausting. Maintaining the costume drains more energy than facing the mirror. The Sigma just saved you months of self-help podcasts by handing you the unvarnished mirror in 30 seconds. No invoice attached. Sure, he could have sugarcoated it, but sprinkles on a mud pie don't make dessert. His bluntness is a kindness in work boots. Ugly but efficient. Once the sting fades, you finally exhale because clarity clears bandwidth. Now you can pivot, cut losses, dump dead weight, whatever the situation needs. And what does the Sigma earn for detonating your comfort zone? Nothing, except maybe the awkward silence that follows, and your eventual respect when life proves him right. He's fine with that. Truth isn't a popularity contest. It's a straight line through the maze. Sigmas just happen to carry the chalk and the nerve to draw it, leaving the rest of us to decide whether to follow or keep bumping into walls. Number 6, they disrupt toxic systems just by existing. A toxic system is like an old refrigerator. Everyone hears it rattling, but they've learned to talk over the noise. Then a Sigma rolls in and hits the mute button. Suddenly the clatter you've been ignoring becomes deafening, because silence exposes everything covered by chatter. He doesn't storm the boardroom with manifestos or start a family revolt over Sunday dinner. He just refuses to nod along. In a meeting, he'll sit there, poker-faced, while half-truths fly overhead like mosquitoes. No raised voice, no eye roll, just that steady, unblinking, "Are we serious right now?" energy that makes the room feel 5 degrees hotter. Toxic networks run on consensus theater. Everyone pretends the emperor has clothes. Nobody mentions the draft. The Sigma breaks the script by giving no forced applause and asking the one question that punctures the fantasy. Why are we doing it this way? 5 harmless words, yet the air leaves the balloon. Because once someone shows they're willing to walk away from group approval, the spell cracks for everyone else. You see interns exchange glances. The cousin who always keeps quiet suddenly exhales and momentum shifts. The hierarchy built on fear starts wobbling like a Jenga tower after a coffee tremor. What really rattles the system is that the Sigma has zero appetite for carrot or stick manipulation. Promote him, threaten him, freeze him out, doesn't matter. He values autonomy over applause, so leverage evaporates. The power brokers realize they're dealing with a black hole negotiator. You can fling bribes or guilt into him, but nothing comes back. Without leverage, control freaks lose their grip, and their bad behavior becomes exposed because nobody's propping it up out of fear anymore. Meanwhile, the Sigma just keeps doing his thing. Quiet competence, crisp boundaries, no gossip buffet. Others start copying that playbook because it works and feels better than tap dancing around fragile egos. The guilty parties either adapt or get spotlighted like dust in a sunbeam. Projects long delayed suddenly move because the silent consensus of just survive flips to let's fix it. All he did was sit there and refuse to fake smile. By the time the toxic scaffolding finally collapses, the Sigma has usually slipped out of the rubble zone. New job, new circle, same calm pulse. He never set out to topple anything. He just lived loud, quiet truth inside a room built on polite lies. And the architecture couldn't handle the tectonic honesty. Number 7, they never warn you twice. There are no second warnings. One warning from a Sigma is like a meteor siren, brief, unmistakable, and followed by a silence you'll remember forever. He doesn't lecture, he calibrates. Drops a single crystal clear statement that says, that line, don't. It's not a threat. It's a timestamp. From that moment on, every word and action you choose is either on the safe side of the line or on the side where the lights shut off. Cross it, and the temperature drops to sub-zero without fanfare. No door slam, no dramatic exit music, just the eerie quiet of someone rewriting the guest list in real time. The chill isn't anger, it's administrative housekeeping. A Sigma's energy budget is stricter than airport security. Once you're flagged as a liability, constant excuses, covert disrespect, chronic boundary nibbling, you're escorted out of the emotional terminal. And because he doesn't broadcast his blacklist, you realize you're on it only when your calls ring forever, your jokes die in the group chat, and your backstage pass turns into general admission oblivion. You'll replay that lone warning like a dash cam clip. What did I miss? Spoiler, nothing. You just didn't take the hint that mattered. This single strike policy doubles as karma's express lane. The moment he vanishes, your support structure tilts. The project stutters, the friend circle feels thinner, the family dynamic loses its secret backbone. That's the audit you never scheduled. His absence spotlights every slack you let him pick up while you tested his patience. You start crafting apologies, drafting explanations, maybe baking penance cupcakes, but the oven's cold. A Sigma doesn't keep return tickets for burned bridges. He recycles the wood into new floors someplace higher. Why no second chance? Because clarity was already gifted. Warnings are expensive. Handing out multiples cheapens them. The Sigma isn't punishing. You're just experiencing the natural consequences of ignoring the manual. Think of him as life's spam filter. One flag, then delete permanently. By the time regret ripens, he's dodging turbulence at 30,000 feet. Playlist humming. Roster upgraded. That silent verdict isn't cruelty, it's efficiency. And efficiency, in the Sigma dictionary, means never having to repeat himself when the universe can finish the sentence for him. Number 8, they unravel egos without lifting a finger. Trying to dominate a Sigma male is like shadowboxing with gravity. Exhausting, humiliating, and completely one-sided. Arrogant people, fueled by their addiction to attention, walk into the ring expecting applause or resistance. What they find instead is a man who doesn't flinch, doesn't care, and doesn't even bother to clap back. The Sigma doesn't feed your ego, and that's exactly how he dismantles it. No insults, no arguments, just pure silent indifference that echoes louder than any roar. See, egos crave resistance. They feed off reactions, jealousy, submission, fear, even hate, but the Sigma gives them nothing. Zero eye contact, no challenge to one-up, no emotional theater to perform in. And because Sigmas aren't competing for status, approval, or admiration, the arrogant one is left swinging alone in a battle that never even started. That vacuum creates panic. When an inflated ego meets no mirror to reflect itself, it starts to deflate, awkwardly, loudly, and usually in public. What's even worse for the ego? The Sigma's quiet confidence. Not the peacocking type, but the grounded, unshakable kind that makes other people doubt their entire persona. He walks in with no entourage, no spotlight, and yet somehow owns the room without opening his mouth. That kind of presence disturbs the loud ones. Their tricks stop working, their validation supply chain collapses. Suddenly they're explaining jokes that didn't land, flexing credentials that nobody asked for, bragging louder because their applause button broke, and the Sigma's silence starts to feel like judgment. By not reacting, the Sigma flips the power dynamic. He's not trying to win, he's just immune to the game. And that, ironically, makes him impossible to beat. Arrogant people leave the interaction confused, insecure, and exposed. They can't understand how someone beneath their ego level didn't play along. It messes with them. They feel smaller, Not because the Sigma attacked them, but because he showed them a mirror they couldn't perform in front of. That's the Sigma's genius. He doesn't fight egos, he starves them, and nothing dies quicker than an ego that's gone unfed and unnoticed. Number 9, their life keeps leveling up after they're betrayed. Betraying a Sigma male doesn't break him, it forges him. While others spiral into emotional quicksand, clinging to closure or vengeance, the Sigma does something far more terrifying. He upgrades. You think you've wounded him, but all you've done is trigger an internal system update. No scenes, no late-night texts, just brutal silence and a quiet dismantling of the old self. Like a man walking out of a burning house, calmly carrying blueprints for a mansion. Here's the part that stings. The Sigma doesn't retaliate, he reinvents. That betrayal you thought would cripple him, it becomes raw material. Pain gets processed, not posted. Instead of licking wounds in public, he goes dark, off the radar, off the grid, and deep into transformation. He's not plotting revenge, he's restructuring his empire. And while you're still recycling the same excuses, he's reading, building, training, recalibrating, turning scars into strategies. People often betray Sigmas thinking they've won some power play, but what they don't see is that a Sigma's strength doesn't come from people, it comes from detachment. When you betray a Sigma, you cut yourself off from the quiet gravity that stabilized your world. You don't remove a chess piece. You remove the board, and then suddenly your whole game starts to look pathetic. Then the horror sets in. You watch him thrive. His glow-up isn't just physical, it's spiritual, financial, intellectual. He starts attracting higher quality people, deeper opportunities, and cleaner energy. That stings. Because deep down you expected him to break, to chase, or at least acknowledge the damage. Instead, he erases your access like outdated software and installs a better operating system. And the universe? It plays favorites with the focused. Betrayal becomes the launch pad, and while you sit there stewing in a victory that aged like spoiled milk, the Sigma's already 10 levels up, moving with even less tolerance, more precision, and an upgraded peace that no longer includes you. That's not luck. That's karma clapping for the man who chose growth over grudges. And when people whisper, he's changed, they don't realize you were the catalyst. You just didn't expect him to alchemize the betrayal into fuel and leave you choking on the smoke of your own short-sightedness. Number 10, they end generational dysfunction quietly. Generational dysfunction thrives on repetition, on silence passed down like furniture, on guilt served at every meal, and on emotional manipulation wrapped in family tradition. But when a Sigma male is born into that mess, the cycle meets its unexpected assassin. He doesn't shout, doesn't stage a rebellion, doesn't need the family group chat to understand his truth. He simply opts out, slowly, quietly, completely. Where others scream, "You're toxic," the Sigma just stops attending the charades. He doesn't argue with the uncle who manipulates through martyrdom. He doesn't fake laugh at the cousin's microaggressions or let his energy be drained by relatives who believe love equals obligation. He doesn't explain why he's not coming to the family reunion. He just doesn't show up. And when asked, he responds with a calm that terrifies, "I don't do dysfunction." Here's the power in that silence. It forces the system to notice its own noise. The family starts asking, where is he? Why isn't he playing his role? Not because they miss him, but because he's no longer a prop in the play. And when the Sigma steps back, the structure loses balance. The emotional scapegoats feel relief. The enablers look exposed. The ringleaders sense they've lost their favorite sparring partner. Without confrontation, the Sigma has broken the pattern, not with war, but with absence. And unlike those who storm off in anger only to be guilt-tripped back into the fold, the Sigma doesn't return. He doesn't need approval, inheritance, or closure. His peace is not up for negotiation. He builds a new life elsewhere, on truth, not tradition, on earned respect, not inherited roles, on real connection, not fake obligation. What's even more disruptive is that younger family members start to notice. He looks healthy. He seems calm. He's not exhausted all the time like the rest of us. Suddenly his exit becomes a blueprint for the quiet rebels watching from the corners, the ones too young or too afraid to speak yet. He's not just ending the dysfunction for himself, he's showing others it's possible. No drama, no declarations, just one man stepping out of the noise and refusing to pass it on. That's how you break chains without rattling them. That's how a Sigma becomes the final chapter in a generational script that's gone on way too long. Number 11. They leave behind a trail of people who learned the hard way. Every Sigma male carries an invisible guest book, and every signature in it tells the same story. Met him, didn't listen. Regret burned into memory. Ask around and you'll find ex-friends, ex-bosses, ex-lovers who speak of him with the hushed reverence people reserve for thunderstorms. Beautiful to watch, frightening to experience. At first they thought his calm was an invitation to toy with boundaries. He seemed unbothered, almost too chill, like a quiet park bench you could carve your initials into. Then one day, the bench simply wasn't there, and everyone who'd taken it for granted wound up on the ground staring at splinters in their backside and wondering how solid oak vanished overnight. What wrecks them isn't punishment, it's the absence of rescue. The Sigma warned them once, silently, with a raised eyebrow you could land a plane on, that loyalty has a weight limit. They shrugged, kept piling disrespect onto the scale and watched it snap. Now they bear the awkward medal of, I ruined something rare. That discomfort sticks like glitter. Years later, they still find flecks in unexpected places. During a dull office slideshow, in the quiet of a 3 a.m. scroll, whenever they meet someone new and realize authentic gravity is hard to come by. Respect, tinged with regret, is a haunting combo. It reminds you what you lost every time you recognize its shadow in someone else. There's also the legend factor. People who've collided with a Sigma retell the tale as a cautionary epic at coffee shops and networking events. Be straight with that guy, he's allergic to BS. They pass the lesson along because they need the pain to mean something. That retelling becomes the Sigma's unintentional calling card. He's not there, yet the room adjusts its posture at the mere mention of him. Karma doesn't need dramatic fireworks when quiet folklore does the job. Meanwhile, the Sigma never checks the guest book. He's miles ahead, building new chapters with people who read the room without cliff notes. The trail behind him serves as both warning sign and testimonial, step correct or step aside. Those who learned the hard way may never get a second chance, but they got something more durable, a lesson engraved in the ego's softest spot. That's the sound of karma cashing its check, a chorus of folks who nod, wince, and quietly vow, never again will I underestimate the silent one in the corner. Number 12. They refuse to be anyone's emotional trash can. A Sigma's empathy is a limited edition release, not a bottomless bargain bin, and he guards it with the kind of efficiency airlines wish they had for lost luggage. The first time you unload your problems, he'll give focused attention, listening without interrupting, mapping the core issue faster than most therapists on triple espresso. The second time, he'll still be there, less nodding, more calibrated questions like, so what's your plan? That's not indifference, that's a flare gun signaling time to act. Try a third round of rinse and repeat despair, and you'll discover the Sigma's stealth superpower. Poof, digital vapor. Mid-sentence, your vent finds itself talking to a typing indicator that never finishes. He didn't block you out of malice, he's simply allergic to emotional freeloading. Because here's the harsh math. Every hour he spends babysitting your recycled meltdown is an hour not spent refining his craft, reading something that expands his horizon, or catching guilt-free sleep. The opportunity cost is brutal, and Sigmas do arithmetic for breakfast. People mistake this boundary for coldness, but it's actually high-grade respect for both parties. Long-term venting without action transforms empathy into enabling. It trains you to outsource self-regulation and trains him to be your unpaid therapist. The Sigma opts out of that rigged transaction. By ghosting, he hands you the mirror and the invoice for your own emotional housekeeping. Pay up in self-awareness or keep the mess. Either way, the cleanup crew is officially off duty. The fallout is educational. Without his steady ear, you're forced to triage your chaos. Is this a fix-it problem, a face-it truth, or a file-it-away memory? You start noticing how often you lead with drama rather than data, how soothing it felt to have an intelligent audience, and how empty the echo is when the audience leaves. That sting is growth trying to break the surface. Meanwhile, the Sigma's life hums on, lighter, sharper, unburdened. His social circle remains a curated gallery, not a landfill. Friends who respect that boundary stick around. Serial dumpers drift off to the next unsuspecting host, and the legend of his heartless ghosting spreads, missing the point entirely. He's not punishing anyone. He's protecting the one asset no refund can restore, his bandwidth. Refusing to be an emotional trash can isn't cruelty, it's self-maintenance. Try it sometime. Your peace might send you a thank you note. In a world full of noise, manipulation, and emotional debris, Sigma males don't just walk differently, they vibrate on a frequency that rattles falsehoods, exposes egos, and dismantles dysfunction without ever raising their voice. They don't need revenge, applause, or permission. They are the lesson, the karma, the quiet reckoning that life sends when it's tired of being ignored. They're not here to fit in, they're here to reset the entire blueprint of what real power, self-respect, and spiritual integrity look like. And the most haunting part? They leave no mess behind, no burned bridges, no dramatic finales, just clarity and a long, silent echo that follows anyone who tried to play games with them and lost to themselves. Because Sigma males don't destroy you. They let you do the honors. So if you've ever crossed paths with one, cherish it or learn from it. Because once they're gone, they don't come back. And once the lesson lands, it doesn't leave. If you felt the impact of this, don't just scroll away, show some love. Hit that like button to keep this energy alive. Drop a comment and let us know which Sigma trait hit hardest, or who in your life needed this wake-up call yesterday. Share this video with someone who's been feeding egos, tolerating dysfunction, or ghosting their own potential. And most importantly, subscribe to the channel. Because this isn't surface-level content. This is the real, raw, unfiltered stuff that cuts deep and builds stronger minds. We're just getting started. Stay sharp, stay uncommon. Join the Sigma frequency.